I will call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Eric Knows,
Here?
Mr. Randline is absent, Ms. Greenfield,
Here.
Ms. McCready,
Here.
Mr. McQueen is absent. I'm sorry, he's not here.
Mr.
McQueen,
McQueen's here.
Sorry. Mr. Rivera.
Here.
Ms. Rivera.
Yeah. Notice of this meeting was provided to the Bernardsville News, Courier News, filed with the municipal clerk, and posted on the municipal bulletin board on December 27th, 2021. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We don't actually have a formal presentation, but I am announcing that we do have a proclamation for one of our lifeguards at the Bernardsville pool, who did an amazing rescue on, when was it, June 6th. And we will be recognizing him, I believe it's the 29th at the pool. We're going to do a ceremony at the pool, so stay tuned for that. I think it was only his second time on duty. And he did an amazing job. So, yeah. Minutes, we have June 13th and June 27th. I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's funny to hear Chad's voice come through here, yeah. It's now our open session, so if anyone from the public would like to speak, please use the raise hand icon and wait till we recognize you. Please give your name and address and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Our clerk, Anthony, will keep track of the time. Please note that this is not a time for debate. It is an opportunity for the public to make a comment. The administrator and I would be happy to schedule a time to meet with anyone who requires more time or wants to discuss issues. Is there anyone in the public that would like to be heard?
Not seeing any, raised hands.
Yes,
Sure.
Minebrook Properties would.
Okay, Minebrook Properties. But the sound is coming out of the bottom here. Everybody's cranking up.
Yes,
Okay.
good evening. My name is Michael Lupari. I am an attorney with the law firm of Mandelbaum Barrett, and I am counsel to Minebrook Properties, owner of property located at 21 Minebrook Road, Block 70, Lot 2, which is within the Quimby Lane redevelopment area. It's my understanding that the mayor and council are seeking to extend the redevelopment agreement with the designated redeveloper Advanced Realty, or I believe AL of Quimby LLC. On behalf of Minebrook Properties, I'd like to state our formal objection to any extension of time, as the redeveloper has not met its obligations under the existing agreement and has not justified any reason for an extension. Most notably, the redevelopers failed to gain control of 2 properties that were required to do pursuant to section 2.04 of the agreement, and they have not provided the borough with adequate assurances that it has the financial stability to proceed as redevelopers required by section 2.05 of the agreement. This, in addition to several other things that we have not been able to obtain certain information in order to determine whether or not the redeveloper has actually satisfied other sections of the agreement. But I think it's most notably important to point out that there has been a petition that has over 2,000 signatures from Bernardsville residents opposing the agreement. And we believe it is in the best interest of Bernardsville and its citizens to terminate its agreement at this time with AR at Quimby LLC, and certainly not to provide it with an extension, which it is not justified any reasons to do so.
Thank you. Did you get that, Anthony? It was very faint.
It was, I think the speaker is coming out under here for some reason, but I'm recording on Zoom,
Okay, good.
so we should have that.
Excellent. Would anyone else from the public like to be heard?
Only one cookie. No, I'm just kidding.
And there will be another opportunity at the end of the meeting.
Not seeing anybody else.
Nobody else? All right, then I will close the public session. We'll move on to ordinances. I will open the public hearing on ordinance 2022-1921 concerning outdoor dining and amending Article 12 of the Borough Code entitled zoning. This is, I think we were waiting for an opinion from the planning board, which we did get, and they supported this. And this is again to help our restaurants continue with their outside dining. Would anyone from the public like to be heard on this ordinance?
May I make one comment?
Yes, please.
In the report from the planning board, they found that the ordinance is not inconsistent with master plan. They did make one non-binding recommendation to define the word temporary. For temporary outdoor facilities.
Yeah,
The mayor and the administrator and I discussed this, and we've been meeting on Friday. And we think it's better at this time to put the ordinance as it is, and creates any problems we can deal with it later. But it sounds a lot easier than it is to come up with the definition of temporary. I think everyone knows what we're talking about, and I think the zoning officer knows.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we thought it would be more effective if we did it on a case by case, because we toyed with the word seasonal, because a lot of it is depending on the weather, but seasonal could be anytime. I mean, we have nice days in December, so you know, we don't want to discourage certain months. So we felt temporary was probably the best solution for now. So thank you for clarifying that, Jack.
And I think we wanted to make it clear they couldn't build a permanent structure.
Right. Yes. Okay, anyone from the public want to be heard? And I will close the public hearing. Christine, you want to do that one?
I move to pass ordinance 2022-1921 and on final reading and adopt as published.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Greenfield,
Yes.
Mr. Grady,
Yes.
Mr. McQueen,
Yes.
Mr. Rivera,
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Okay, we are continuing the public hearing from June 27th on ordinance 2022-1923, and ordinance rezoning property located at 5 Senior Drive, which is block 41, lot 2, from D-CL to R5, and supplementing and amending section LD 12-2.2 of the Borough Code entitled zoning map. And this is simply adding that one house at the end of Senior Drive into the residents that run along Senior Drive. Does anyone from the public wish to be heard on this?
Mayor,
Yes.
this is Vince Paragano. It's my property. And I want to thank you for dealing with it so expeditiously. And I'm here to answer any questions that the town council may have. The planning board was very receptive to the move, and they indicated that they thought that it was more than not inconsistent, that it was actually consistent with the, as I recall, consistent with the master plan or the rezoning that had previously been done. And I appreciate everybody moving as quickly as they did. So I'm here to answer questions. If there are no questions, I just ask that it be approved.
Thank you, Vince. Yeah. Anyone else wish to be heard? If not, I will close the public hearing. Yeah, and we did get a very positive response on that as well from the planning board. Yeah, want to do that?
Yep, I move to pass ordinance 2022-1923 on final reading and adopt as published.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Rivera,
Yes.
Mr. McQueen,
Yes.
Ms. McCready,
Yes.
Ms. Greenfield,
Yes.
I will
Thank you.
open the public read.
Welcome. Welcome.
Yes, Vince, good luck with that. Okay. I'm going to open the public hearing on ordinance 2022-1924, a bond ordinance providing for the acquisition of property located at 65 Morristown Road in and by the Borough of Bernardsville in the county of Somerset, New Jersey, appropriating $1.5 million therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $1,430,000 of bonds or notes of the borough for financing such appropriation. Would anyone in the public like to be heard on this ordinance? Anything? Nothing?
Oh, sorry. Don't see anybody raising their hand.
All right, I will close the public hearing. Diane, do you have one?
I move to pass ordinance 2022-1924 on final reading, adopt as published.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Greenfield,
Yes.
Ms. McCready,
Yes.
Mr. McQueen, Mr. McQueen,
Yes.
Mr. Rivera.
Yes.
Ms. Zamara.
Abstain.
All right, I will open the public hearing on ordinance 2022-1925, bond ordinance providing for improvements to open space properties in and by the Borough of Bernardsville in the county of Somerset, New Jersey, appropriating $4 million therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $3,800,000 bonds or notes of the borough for financing such appropriation. Just to comment on this, this is kind of a blanket bond ordinance, and as each project comes before the council, each has to be approved separately. So anything that's within that bond will come to the public. There'll be a public hearing on it, and so everyone will know exactly how that money is being spent on our recreation projects.
And Mayor, Mayor, if I can
just
just expand on that briefly, the intent is not to use the bond if we don't have to. We believe we have funds in house to pay for most of it, but this will be a mechanism for us to fund things in an expeditious way.
Thank you, Chad. Yeah. You see anybody in the public? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking there and not looking at you. Come on up.
No one on Zoom though, yeah.
Okay.
Hello again, Aaron Duff. I live on Crestview Drive. But first, I want to take the opportunity to thank Borough Administrator Stronecki for discussing this, my concern about the appropriation that I was here last meeting about. Most particularly, I was a little concerned when I saw the ordinance that it had the potential of crowding out maybe other investments, recreation investments that might come before the council between now and the time that these projects are completed. Tom was able to walk me through the way the open space fund works and kind of assured me that with the anticipated revenue stream that the open space tax provides on a year-over-year basis, there wouldn't really be any financial impediment to other recreation spending if appropriate during that time. So my one thought that I want to share on the projects that are contained in the appropriation ordinance, I think it should be our engineers, if not top priority, one of their top priorities to address the driveway over the 271 property, the entrance egress issues over there. I think they've been on our radar for a while. And when the lot was subdivided and sold off, the shared driveway was a temporary measure until our engineers could come up with a more permanent solution to provide viable access to the public. So when I was a little disappointed then, I guess, when I saw their initial plan on that, does not really address challenges that the current layout presents. And so I know that they're coming back next month, maybe in August at some point. So I think it would be really terrific if somebody from the borough could reach out to them and let them know, hey, when you come back. I know we're on, it's a tight schedule, but maybe just some preliminary ideas about, how that, what potential design options there might be to get the private residents a dedicated driveway, to get the park, a dedicated ingress and egress, and maybe what the roadmap might be in dealing with the DOT. I know last time they were here, they, and I can empathize, they're not, super enthusiastic about, what the prospects of that might be, but I think it's worthwhile to get the ball rolling on that. If it is going to be a long process, start sooner rather than later. So,
Thank you, Aaron.
thank you.
And actually, I know Bob Brightly, who is our borough engineer, had done some initial drawings for how that could be done. And so maybe connecting him with Suburban, because I know he already invested a lot of time in the design there. And it kind of sat by the sidelines because we were still debating how we were going to do all this. So maybe we need to dust that off and get it to them. Save some time. Thank you, Aaron. Okay, anyone else wish to be heard on this ordinance? Yes.
Because you brought a 271, one of the,
Come up.
I'm walking, John Downey, 16 South Street. Just when they do look at the things to do, the bridle trail in the back, with each heavy storm, it's kind of starting to collapse into the river a little bit. So it's something that will need to be addressed. And I don't know if it has to go to DEP, but I can take, to our grandchildren. And a couple of large trees that we flagged that, that are hollowed out that are right along where people would walk. So probably they're huge, so they can't be done by borough people. My 2 cents on things to do, to-do list.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, we are gonna organize a walk through the concept trail that we marked out.
Okay, yeah, can you let just make it public or, let me
Well,
know.
you're on the Trails Committee, so those are probably the people we should involve in that process, right?
Aaron's on the trail.
I'm on the
Chair.
Oh, okay,
The committee started?
yes,
Yeah, I'm now.
It's a-
I just missed the last meeting.
Oh.
Sorry.
yeah. It's a mayor's ad hoc and Diane is kind of
Yeah.
overseeing.
Tom, when you do that, can the committee come along for that?
No, the Trails
Trails
Committee,
Oh, absolutely, that's what it's for.
yeah.
Environmental committee, trail committee,
Okay,
anyone from the rec
if
committee.
you send me the information, I'll forward it to the committee when you get to that. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else from the public wish to be heard on this ordinance? All right, I will close the public hearing. Gina, can you do that one? I'll give you a shot.
I move to pass ordinance 2022-1925 on final reading and adopt as published.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
I just make a
Oh,
just
yes,
question,
go ahead.
because I couldn't agree more with Mr. Duff's comment. I mean, I think we all think that that's a really excellent piece of property and a big asset, but it's really limits the use of residents, like the inability to access it with that driveway off the main road. And just to expand on your comment, Mayor, are there, I think the engineer said something a few weeks ago when they were here talking about it, about multiple options, and I'd just be interested to know, are there limits that are associated with that property and the state, or are there potential different designs that could be applied to 271 Brook to give us some optionality?
Well, again, if I can just answer it from my discussion with Doug Walker, because I thought the best way entrance would be over where the parking is.
Right.
But there's a rule about how close you can be to the next street, and that's too close. And further down, it's the grade that's difficult. So there weren't a whole lot of, when you first look at it, let's just cut through here, but you can't always just do
Okay.
that. Tom, do you want to add?
There's other issues like, for example, like we can try to make a left turn to the top of the road.
Right.
That may be a challenge with DOT without dedicated money for it. But I think all that's based on projected volumes and things. So, yeah, comprehensive study would have to occur. And just a reminder that the initial contract is for just the concepts. Just with general, what can we do under phase 1 priorities council, I think. But then right now we're waiting on specific proposals to do the engineering around the utilities. We need to get that rolling.
Okay.
Because that stands in the way of about 3 different projects.
Yeah, there's a sequence there that we could look at and address it.
Yeah.
Cool.
No, thank you, Al. Roll call, please.
Ms. Greenfield,
Yes.
Ms. McCready,
Yes.
Mr. McQueen. Mr. McQueen.
I think he was muted.
Okay.
Yes. Sorry, it took me a second to unmute. Yes.
Mr. Rivera.
Yes.
Ms. Rivera.
I have to abstain again because it's a bond ordinance. My employer doesn't let me vote on those. So, sorry.
All right. Oh, we're gonna table this next ordinance, so I need a motion to table it.
That's a motion to continue the public hearing
Okay.
until the next regular council meeting, which I believe is August 8th.
Yeah.
And there'll be no further notice of publication.
I move
What Jack said.
I move to continue the public hearing on ordinance 2022-1926 until the next council meeting on
To August 8th. Yeah.
Second.
Planning board recommendations.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
I need a roll call.
Oh, it's roll call. Sorry. No,
Good,
voice
good,
vote was good.
good roll call.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Moving on, I will open the public hearing on ordinance 2022-1927, an ordinance authorizing the acquisition of real property located at 65 Morristown Road and identified as block 124, lot 13 for public purposes. Would anyone from the public like to be heard on this ordinance? A lot of people on it.
There's 31, but I don't see any raised hands on here. Anyone?
All right, then I will close the public hearing. Hal, you wanna take that one?
I move to pass ordinance 2022-1927 on final reading and adopt as published.
second,
Roll call, please.
Ms. Amer,
yes.
Mr. Rivera,
Yes.
Mr. McQueen,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Ms. Greenfield,
Yes,
Diane, we'll move the next one.
I move that ordinance 2022-1928 appropriating the sum of $72,000 for the various improvements to the wastewater treatment plant facility be introduced by title, passed on first reading, published according to law, and that a public hearing be scheduled for a meeting beginning at 7:00 PM, Monday, August 8th, 2022.
Second,
All right, any discussion on this? No. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. Okay, we'll do the next one, please. Public Works.
I move that ordinance 2022-1929 appropriating the sum of $35,000 for the Pill Hill Pump Station Valve and Pump Impaler Replacement Project be introduced by title, passed on first reading, published according to law, and that a public hearing be scheduled for a meeting beginning at 7:00 PM, Monday, August 8th, 2022.
second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention. All right, moving on to resolutions. We have resolutions 22-155 through 160. Any that you want to discuss separately?
Mayor, I'm going to propose that we table 22-158,
Yes, we did mention that.
and I can provide an explanation when appropriate.
Okay, and yeah, I believe that was allowing time for the health department.
Correct. So I spoke to Len Friedman,
Yeah.
Chair of the Board of, the Bernardsville Health Committee, Board of Health. So this is going to hopefully support broader efforts around providing additional funding to local public health measures from the state. However, the Board of Health meets on Monday, and Len wanted the Board of Health to opine on it, discuss it, talk about it before it actually came to council. So
No, that's
we can
fine.
just wait till one meeting. That'd be good.
Absolutely. All right, let's take that one off and put it on for next month. Anything else? All right, Jean, I move those.
I move that resolutions 22-155, 22-160, excluding 22-158 be adopted.
second,
Roll call, please.
Ms. Amer,
yes.
Mr. Rivera,
Yes.
Mr. McQueen, Mr. McQueen. Okay,
Did you get it?
yeah, he's muted. I didn't ask him. So I'll go on. Ms. McCready,
Yes.
Ms. Greenfield,
Yes.
Mr. McQueen,
Yeah, we need to mute them.
Yeah,
We good?
we're good. That's four.
All right, next is the mayor's update. We had a cultural arts committee on June 2nd to review the Faces of Bernardsville Art Show. And we started the discussions of collaborating with Recreation downtown Bernardsville to start preparing for our 100th anniversary in 2024. So looking forward to putting programs together. On the 6th, I attended the pool karaoke with Mr. T's band. They're doing some really great programs at the pool. And the nice thing is those kind of programs are open to everyone, not just members. So I think that's really nice that the movies and the musical gatherings are free to everybody. On Saturday, Coffee with a Cop was at the farmer's market. And they got a great reception. I think a lot of people stopped and talked to them. I hung out with them for a while. And they were largely promoting the National Night Out on August 2nd. I expect to see you all there. It's a really great program. It happens all across the country on August 2nd. And it's to make people aware of everything that the police and safety measures that go on in town. They're even going to have a helicopter there this year, so pretty cool. The canines from the county sheriff's office, so it's a great family event. They'll have free hot dogs, and also Minuteman will be there with a food truck, so make sure everybody comes. I also stopped at the vaccination clinic at the firehouse on Saturday, and they had a pretty steady lineup of people coming for boosters mainly. So I thank them for the county for coming out here to the far ends of the county. Beginning on July 16th, there is a new 3-digit hotline that the state is rolling out. It's 988. And it's a mental health crisis and suicide prevention hotline. It'll be available 24/7 for calls, texts, chats. So it's a great thing to publicize, get out there, and we can even put it on the website because it's going to be a great resource for the growing mental health crisis. The other thing I have is I would like to respond to a misleading letter to the editor that was sent to the Bernardsville News by one of the property owners in the Quinby Lane area, Mr. Chris Harold. I was very surprised to see this letter from someone whom I have engaged several times. Our borough administrator, Tom Chernyavsky, and I met with Mr. Harold and his partner last month. After hearing his concerns about the project, we informed him that we would share his concerns with the council, which we did at the next meeting during executive session. The council agreed to reinforce that eminent domain will not be used for this project, as it has maintained all along, and further to completely remove any option of eminent domain from the developer's agreement. I issued a statement to that effect at our last meeting, and I emailed that to the businesses, and the Bernardsville News published it in last week's newspaper. Mr. Harold attempts to point to language in the original agreement from 2020 on eminent domain. This is standard language in redevelopment agreements detailing the possible tools that boroughs can use to advance projects. What he doesn't share is that on page 1 of the agreement, it very clearly states that the Quinby Lane project is designated a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment, meaning eminent domain will not be used. Any resident or business can read it for themselves. It is a public document available on the borough website, developed in public over multiple years with public comment periods. To change this or use eminent domain, even in an extreme case, the developer would need to go back to the council and make the request, triggering an open process with public input in order for the council to make that decision. As I stated, the council has agreed to remove all language regarding eminent domain from the agreement. Since the developer's agreement is a legal document, there is a process to follow in order to amend the contract. We are engaged in that process with the developer and our redevelopment attorney. And I explained that to Mr. Harold in a follow-up email. And I'd also like to dispute Mr. Harold's comment about the council scheming behind closed doors. Fortunately, our residents and the vast majority of business owners know that accusation is patently false. This council has been more than transparent over multiple years through every step of this process. We have engaged the public in numerous forums, and the January 2020 agreement had public hearings before being passed unanimously. I would encourage any of the other business owners to be equally open about their concerns. Both the administrator and I would be happy to meet with them. I do realize that projects such as revitalizing our downtown can be stressful, and we will continue to work hard to engage everyone in the community, residents, businesses, and property owners in the process. But rather than spread incorrect information, I would remind the affected parties, such as Mr. Harold, that this is about the future of our community, and they have a responsibility to our community to engage in a professional and honest manner. As we have continued to reinforce, no property owner in the redevelopment area is being forced to participate in the process. And we will continue to ensure this process is transparent, open, and that the public is fully engaged every step of the way, so that everyone who wants a part in the future of our downtown has that opportunity. Thank you. Anybody want to add to that?
Well said.
Okay. And Mr. Cherniewski, your report.
Well, first of all, I just wanted to acknowledge that Mr. Duff came to visit. We spent almost 90 minutes. And it was
Oh, Chad, did you want to say something?
Yeah, no, so Mary Jane, I wanted to apologize. Actually, I'm just walking down the tarmac kind of the airplane. I'm gonna have to hang up because we're about ready to leave. But I'm glad we were able to get everything accomplished tonight because it was a very important meeting.
Great, thank you, Chad.
Thank you.
Have a great
Good
trip.
job.
We're actually your own business.
Yep.
So.
We'll see you guys Wednesday morning. Bye.
Okay.
what I wanted to do is just acknowledge Mr. Duff and thank you for taking the time to learn, about ordinances, about planning, about the green acreage rules, and his passion for the well-being of the community is true. But it's nice, and like we always say that we're available to meet, and I think it's time very well spent with people, rather than have a quick dialogue here, which is fine. I mean, we're here for that, but we're always available, and I think we'll take it off. Thank you for your patience and.
Yeah, there's a lot of regulations and steps that, yeah, I know. It's confusing sometimes too.
But I did just want to verify, without going through all the slides, I wanted to point out that that's $4 million bond ordinance that we did tonight. If in theory, if hypothetically we were to do a bond that we can service every year for the next 20 years with the annual revenue from the open space fund, we could, that bond could be a little over $11 million. And that's just for 20 years. So there is plenty of capacity to do phase 2 projects and really drill down into what the plan calls for. But I think I may be getting into the council sandbox a little bit when I point this out, but if you look at the plan, the master plan, those first phase projects hit so many key points.
Yeah.
From trails, paths. One of the high-ranking items in there was to build a new park, and in the absence of being able to build a new park, do things that are going to expand the capacity of the system. Do things for seniors, such as the pickleball. So I do think there's a lot of pride in this, but I think there's also a lot of work to do down the road.
Thank you.
Oh, and.
Yeah,
two
the
other
rest of
things,
your stuff.
We got about $30,000 in real estate aid this year. We anticipated.
Yay.
And, surprised to receive a letter from the state, Department of Community Affairs, awarding us $45,000 to pay for our costs associated with implementing the shared service agreement for the fire prevention inspection services, and, kudos to, so Chief Miller, was instrumental in that and grant, as well as, Mr. Price. Renee,
Yeah,
helped pull all that together, so, thanks all.
that's almost half the contract, isn't it? Yeah, that's terrific. And also, I think Leslie told us, we're getting a little more interest from the bank now, too, so. That's a good, I mean, we're nowhere near what we used to, but at least it's an increase, it's going in the right direction, so that was great. All right, and I think just to add on to what you said about the bond is using the annual tax, it means we're not adding any new tax. So there is no cost to the residents for all these improvements that we're going to be able to do, no new costs.
And that number that I threw out did not even anticipate other potential grants that got applicable.
Right,
Once that project is executed, the council was smart to put some funds aside early for this bond, because that means we can get on to the next round.
right.
So that's how you take that.
I have my,
But one last
Yeah.
point, there's, even in the preservation side, there's cash, we have over $4 million to go buy additional.
For acquisition. yeah, good. Yeah, I had my first pickleball lesson on Friday, I'm getting ready for those courts. It's a lot of fun. It is fun, yeah. Okay, we have, I noticed this is the second month we didn't get an animal control report. Is there any reason why?
I'll follow up then. See
Yeah.
if I can get a report.
They're usually really good about getting them in, so. Okay, I have a motion to accept the department and monthly reports.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, let me extend. We have the attorney's report. I don't think you want to have anything to add, Jack?
Do you have any questions?
No? All right, public safety.
We didn't meet, we're meeting on Thursday this week.
Good, okay.
There was like a public notice about the press release that the chief said. Anyone mention that press release about burglary?
Yes, lock it or lose it.
Lock it or lose it,
Yeah,
reminders.
well, and not only
Yes.
your cars, but then your
Your
house too.
Yeah.
Yeah, very concerned.
My
And it's a
husband
good
loves to
press
brag
release, so
about
I
how
would
he
take a
owns
look at
the
it.
house.
Yeah,
So, keep him in mind. lock
Yes.
his house, too.
finance, we did not meet, we're meeting this week, I believe. Next week, okay. Christine, organization, development and personnel.
We're meeting on the 21st.
Okay. Public works.
We didn't meet, but I have a couple, just a couple.
You got it, girl.
of updates. On environmental bioswales, the Rutgers Co-op Exchange update was received and reviewed, and Locust Drive is a viable option, and the cost of construction is now being explored. An update on the 2022 mill and paves. The new anticipated start date for milling is July 18th, and for paving is July 25th, and resident notifications were mailed. Update on the pickleball court, the work's ongoing. Drainage we're up to drainage now, it's being installed. And although not part of this project, a newly discovered badly deteriorated water line to the snack shack is to be replaced. And finally, Chestnut Avenue paving project from last year is finally closed out. We received the final grant payment from New Jersey DOT. That's it.
Good. Can I just ask, I don't know, Tom, if you can answer this or not. I've gotten, and I noticed when I was with Coffee with a Cop, a lot of people were asking about Bernards Ave. And I think, I think we need to say something publicly as to why that's being delayed and what the issues are. And I don't know if Diane wants to explain or Tom, you want to explain it, but I think we need to get that message out to the residents.
I can comment on it now, but I think I heard hear you saying, put something great.
Yeah, I think if we can really explain in depth what's going on with that project, because a lot of people have been asking and they're concerned, you know, it is an awful road. And I think they don't understand how complicated that project is. So I think the more we can explain, the better it'll be.
I think they did get a notice that it was starting next year. Bernard's Ave people.
Yeah, but I
Right.
don't think they.
But
got
that
the
created more
whole-
questions, because
Yes.
then it's like, why was there a delay, especially if they heard it got approved, right?
Right,
And
So I-
the side roads.
And then, right, and then we were waiting for the grant for the side roads.
yeah, so I think just really giving them a good explanation of what the project's gonna involve and
Right.
how complicated it is. And
We didn't want to start it and then have to end it in the
Right.
middle for the winter, and we didn't want to rush it to get it finished
And then have
before the
Yeah.
winter. So we figured in order to do it correctly, the best thing would be to wait until
Yeah.
the beginning of the
But it
year.
also requires some infrastructure issues.
It's a complete
and drainage.
reconstruction.
Yeah, it's not a simple mill and pave, which I think people thought they were getting. So,
And the other issue is we didn't want to have the bottom of the litter as far as engineering firms go, because most of the engineers that work on roads are actually committed to the rest of the year at this point.
yes,
And so
The
contractors, that's right, I'm sorry, the contractors, thank you for the correction.
yeah,
So by doing the bid when we're going to do it, we actually will have select contractors, basically anyone of high quality, and obviously that road deserves,
and better pricing.
yeah, and better price.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe Doug and we could put something together in the letter that's, you know, more than just a notice, that's a little more explanatory. I think that would be helpful.
Like the frequently asked questions.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I can give you a few.
You got it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the-
but
the
yeah, I think
side
we're all
roads
in
too.
one place.
Yeah.
Side roads.
Yeah,
And what's happening with the side roads.
the side roads. as
Lower
well. Yeah, and
Garibaldi.
that's a second grant application too, so. Okay, thank you. Land use, we have not met. Are there any liaison reports? I know we're kind of early in the month, so yeah.
HPAC met on the 28th of June and discussed downtown Bernardsville's Museum in the Streets project. We talked about dumpster squib updates regarding the water damage that they had, I think it was in March or February. We discussed Dan Lincoln's review of the Board of Adjustment and planning board applications. And the mayor's ad hoc trails committee met on July 2nd. We discussed committee's mission and how the committee would operate, set goals for July, August, and September. And finally, we walked Peters Trail to review the trail marker placement, which was done by myself, Erin over there, and Curry the day before. Open space and housing did not meet.
All right, anyway, I know it's early in the month and most committees haven't met. This is usually our later July meeting, so. Or later in the month meeting. We did have correspondence, which was another request for a road opening, a hardship exemption.
Yeah, that's okay.
Hmm?
60,000.
Yeah. So I don't know how you want to handle that. Did we get it? Did we get an opinion from John McCall?
It's a small.
Right, it
Five by
was just
three.
right at the end of his
5, yeah.
driveway. Okay, so what did you, Jack, do we need to do a resolution?
Yes, you can do it by motion.
We have a motion?
I move to allow the hardship resolution for Prospect Street.
60.
60
project.
I'll second it.
Just an all in favor, is that enough?
Yeah.
Yeah, all in favor,
Aye.
opposed?
There's another correspondence. Bike
The
challenge.
bike,
Oh, the
yeah,
bike
the
challenge,
2022
yes.
bike.
Which I think from what they said, it's what they do every year and it
Yeah.
doesn't require anything on our part. They're
Yeah.
just really letting us know they'll be here, so. Yeah, and I think they're always, never have created a problem, so, yeah, that's fine. I think that was it for correspondence, yes?
Right.
That was everything? Okay. Do we have any unfinished business?
I don't know, Mayor, did you sign the letter to?
Well, you know, it's just, We were talking about that before. I just got it here, the letter to DOT.
Yes.
And I just heard that they were here and marked it all out already. So I think they're working on it.
Okay.
So I think before I,
With the crosswalk?
yeah, for the crosswalk that's over from the train station over to
Right.
Bistro 73 area.
Are
Yeah,
they doing lighting too? Is lighting supposed to go
They
there?
were,
yeah.
they were looking at that as well, but it-
We're recommending that in front of you.
Okay.
Yeah. But I,
Thursday again.
yeah, so I don't, I'm gonna just check tomorrow before I send off the letter and look like we're complaining if they're actually doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, because they said something about the funding, that the funding wasn't there for them to actually execute the project, so it would go into their next priorities
State
for funding.
doesn't have funding.
So we were just encouraging them to
Yeah,
not exclude us from that next round of
Yeah.
funding.
all right, I'll just check it because I'm trying to remember who told me, but they said there, if you see, they were out here marking it.
Yeah, because I noticed, because there's actually like the sign is there, but there's a
Yeah.
black bag over it. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's progress. But
Although sometimes those stay for months and
well, that's
months.
exactly what,
Yeah,
Chief
yeah,
said.
I do. So I will sign that.
okay,
All right,
thank you.
yeah. Any other unfinished business? Any new business? All right, we now have the second open session for any items that were not listed for a public hearing. Would anyone from the public wish to be heard on any issue? Please limit your comments to 3 minutes and give your name and address.
Joanna Listenberg.
Johanna?
Yeah, Johanna Wissinger, Environmental Commission. Just two things. I would like to suggest or hope that the Trails Committee, I don't know what stage you're working at, but that you would incorporate some way to enhance natural science education. There are all different ways you could make that valuable for, so I think we have probably enough people. We have, the 2 watersheds and shift. We might be able to get a naturalist to go through and highlight some points. So just to make that suggestion, it would be nice to take that opportunity to, have kids appreciate it more, use some of the scientific process like observation and seeing relationships or whatever. And the other quick thing, and I don't know, I mean, for this to be beneficial, I don't know how much more we're going to be Zooming, but the side table where Mr. Pigeon and Mr. Chernecki is sitting, we don't hear them as well. I don't think it's mine. I've had it on other days, probably an audio tech thing. I don't know if it could be helped, but I just thought you have no way of knowing it unless someone like me says it from outside the Zoom. Okay, thank you. Good evening.
Thank you.
Thanks, Johanna. Yeah, I think maybe the Audubon might be interested in.
Yes, I should have mentioned them. They have QRs, and I've done a lot of teacher training there, and I know they have all kinds of programs. So yeah, good. Just so.
We'll get there, Johanna.
Okay.
We're just starting.
Yeah, I thought so. It was a stage, but I just thought I wanted to get it out there when I could.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public?
I don't see anybody. It's scrolling up and down and there's no hands.
No, I am-
No, there's not, now there's one.
Okay.
Maria Nadel.
Okay.
I'm
Maria?
sorry. Yeah, wait a
There you
second.
go.
Okay.
Sorry about that. So I just wanted to say with the extension for the developer, because you had mentioned the letter and the meeting and everything before. I'm with Brook Properties. And I just wanted to say that there's no one that wants to sell or move or be relocated. Why can't we work with the town to do whatever you want us to do? I mean, everybody is upset. If you give a 3-year extension, you're upsetting all the businesses. Forget about the property owners, the businesses and their employees and their families. If we have to be waiting for 3 years to see what's going to happen, and we know that he can at any time come back and ask for an amendment to get eminent domain or condemnation. He can do that 3 years from now. We know that. We didn't know that before, but we know that now. There were so many people upset about this. I just needed to say that. That's all I want to say.
All right, thank you, Maria.
Thank you for letting me speak.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Hi, sorry for like just bopping on here. I don't know how to do the wave emoji. I'm really bad at this, but I just have a question. Why is it 3 more years?
Can you say their name?
Yeah, can you just give us your name and address?
Oh, it's Tara Vitolo. I own I own the boutique Olcott Square, and I live at 120 Claremont Road, and my business is at 13 Minebrook Road, right where the development's gonna happen, what may happen. And I was just curious, why is it 3 years? Like, if he wasn't able to obtain the properties in the amount of time, why are we giving another 3 years? That just seems like such a large amount of time. I almost feel like either it's, come up with more money to buy out the businesses. I mean, as a business owner and someone who is potentially going to own my store, I kind of just feel like that's a long time. I mean, that's even like stalling me buying my store, because if in the end there could be a resolution made to the plan to invoke eminent domain if so-and-so doesn't want to sell. I mean, and just to be completely honest, I mean, I know the post office, isn't their lease up in 3 years? Does that have something to do with it to get enough square footage? I'm just asking because, like I said, it's the future of my business. I've been told that I can relocate into the Palmer building, and I'm sure it's going to be absolutely beautiful. But is that on my dime to reopen there? And then if I choose to come back, my rent's obviously going to be higher, and I already pay high enough rent. And I can't imagine what maybe Kraft would pay to come back and to, redo their salon, or what Alan would do at Sete to put in a new fitted kitchen. I mean, this is all on our dime. So I'm just curious, like, why are we holding on to this? Like, why? And also with the committee, how come like there's none of like no business owners on it? The downtown committee for this redevelopment, none of us are on it. Shouldn't we have a say? I mean, we have ideas as well. And I mean, I'm happy now that there's the meetings and we're going to get more involved, but I don't know. I'm still just baffled by this 3 years. Like, why is it such a long time? And he hasn't done it now. Why is it going to change in 3 years? Is my real question out of all of this.
That's a good question, Tara. It's actually, we have not agreed to any time period at the moment. It's still a negotiated time limit. So we'll talk about it. You made some good points. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't want to come off abrasive and being, when this first got proposed, I guess X amount of years ago, when you sent out the survey, I'm for some redevelopment. I grew up in an urban area. My family's from an urban area, and I moved to Rensselaer because I love it. But now that I have something vested in it, my children are growing up here. It just seems like just a lot at once. So I don't know. I just hope that there's more meetings and that maybe there's a way to get us business owners involved more so with this process. If
Actually, we do have business owners on the committee. We don't have Quimby business owners because it's almost a conflict of interest for them to be involved in, what the borough is negotiating.
Right. And I understand that because my attorney has said that to me before, but then at the same time, so I know that Dave from Adelphia is on the committee. I know that Tim Manning's on the committee. So you have other business owners who aren't, their businesses aren't at risk. I mean, if you look at what happened in Westfield did this beautiful redevelopment, and all the smaller mom and pop stores, they're not there. And now you have Blue Mercury and all these other big stores that went in because they're the only ones who can afford the rent, and now they're moving out. So, I mean, has anyone even looked at that? I mean, even statistically, if I was to move my business to the Palmer building, while there's so much construction downtown, I'm gonna lose business. No one wants to shop when there's construction. It's the truth. I mean, it just was, I don't want to go parking. I don't want my car to get dirt on it. I don't want to sit at the traffic light, So, I mean, this is just other things I just hope that you guys really consider when you do this redevelopment.
Thanks, Tara.
Thank you.
To your point, anything that, any agreement, whether it be any aspect of change at all, and it has to come back in front of council, right?
Yes.
Right. So I think we really appreciate the comments, and whether it be business owners or residents or others, we'll make sure the entire community is engaged and has the opportunity to comment on any decisions.
Yeah, yeah, and we have not set a time period. I mean, we've talked about what we could do, but we haven't actually done it. So it gives us time to really review it based on the input we've gotten. And I really appreciate the fact that we are hearing from the businesses now, which we hadn't in the past. So we're always open to meetings or sitting down with people and hearing what your concerns are. So thank you.
I think in the initial stages of this, things were a lot different.
They were.
Then-
It was a different climate, a whole different business climate when we
Right.
started this 3 years ago, 4 years ago almost. Yeah. So, yeah, there's a lot to reconsider at this point. Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard? You got anybody?
If anybody can't make.
Okay. Then I will close the open session. Do we have executive?
We have one small matter.
Okay. All right, so would someone like to move to adjourn to executive?
It's related to an attorney-client privilege. Potentially.
Okay,
I'll move to adjourn
to executive.
to executive.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We're not coming back out. Yes, so this will technically be adjournment. All right, thank you everyone who attended. We appreciate you taking the time to be here and share it with us. It's exciting what's going on in town. All right, good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.